Following up on what Erin said about dots, Chapter 3 looks at the cost of trying to control your anxiety, or the cost of using dots, in other words. Teens tend to be pretty impulsive. They don't have very much patience with feeling discomfort. Their brains are kind of wired to go for short-term relief. This makes them behave sometimes in ways that are not very mindful of what the consequences are going to be, and that's worrying for parents. So as parents are anxious about teens' behavior, anxious about the long-term consequences of teens' behavior, parents tend to do things to manage that. And it's really useful actually to watch what we do to manage our dots, to actually kind of stand back and look at it. For example, a parent might find themselves watching a teen not cleaning their room, not cleaning their room, not cleaning their room. It gets worse and worse. And the parent might be having all kinds of thoughts about what's going to happen when they go away to school. What are their roommates going to think? They're not going to have any roommates. They're not going to have friends. Their lives are going to be terrible. And on it goes. And so what that, of course, leads to next is the parent nagging or sometimes saying nothing, and then blowing up at the teen about their room. And if we watch kind of how that plays out, it probably works really well in the short term. The parent kind of gets it off their chest, feels a little better. But in the longer term, usually it kind of sours the relationship. The teen might dig in their heels and get even more determined not to do their room because that would be just doing what their parent wants. And so it doesn't get better, it gets worse. And then more anxiety, and then more nagging or shouting or however it plays out. So if we stand back and watch a pattern like this, which all parents find themselves in some way or another at some point, it's useful just to watch. What happens when I do this? Short term, what happens when I do it in the longer term? It's also useful to watch what happens when I don't do this. If a parent chooses not to nag or blow up or do whatever it is that might be the dot, maybe the teen's behavior is different. Maybe the parent is reacting to that behavior differently. It may play out quite differently. What's really helpful is just to kind of stand back with the lab coat on a bit and watch how it plays out. It's important, though, to know that we're all going to use dots. It's human. Sometimes, in the short term, the dots are helpful. And sometimes that plays out best. Often, though, in the longer term, the dots are not so helpful. And then we start to judge ourselves for dotting. That's another human thing that we all do. So watch for dots. Know that you're going to do them. Notice what the effects of them are. Notice the judgments that come up about them. And see if you can kind of be a little bit kind to yourself, both about the dots and the judging the dots.